Hi, everybody. Steve Paikin here. The world is changing fast, eh? I'm not sure I've ever experienced anything like it in my 40-plus years of journalism. Where does Canada fit in all of this? From federal politics to foreign policy to in-depth one-on-one interviews, we'll try to help you understand this uncertain era in which we now find ourselves. The Paikin Podcast. Find us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mr. Carney goes overseas while Pierre Poilievre talks about airports and cheap flights. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The answers you need
from the people in the know.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
The Prime Minister is out of the country again. Mr. Carney is in Armenia, attending something called the European Political Community Summit. Today, he met with the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, and he met with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. The Prime Minister also announced another $270 million in additional support for Ukraine. This additional funding brings Canada's total support for Ukraine since the Russian invasion to almost $26 billion. Speaking with news reporters, Mr. Carney said the latest money will help Ukraine buy more military equipment from NATO.
And so there are a series of packages that are made available. Canada has participated in a number of them. They're not divisible as package. You can't send part of a missile system. You have to send the whole thing. And with this money, we're going to be able to complete one of the packages with some Nordic partners, with Belgium and others. So the President was not surprising. President Zelensky was grateful. I'd stress a couple of things, and then I'll hand back. The first is that the munitions are being made available. Munitions, a broad, loose term, being made available by the Americans. So it's a question of financing and getting them there. We're doing that. We're getting them there. That's the first point. Second, we had made a commitment earlier this year in February, $2.4 billion for Ukraine, Canadian. So this is part of that overall commitment. We're continuing to provide it. It's part of a bigger puzzle in a conflict where Ukraine is gaining some advantage.
Canada is the only non-European country represented at this summit in Armenia, and the Prime Minister was asked why he continues to seek closer ties between Canada and European countries. He said it's good for Canada.
Right here in Armenia, as monitors, only non-European country doing that. We're the only non-European member of SAFE, which is a defense arrangement very good for Canadians, Canadian business, because it makes us stronger. We have these partners we can work directly, good for our businesses, defense businesses there. You asked about Ukraine. We're a coalition of the willing. It's not exclusively European. Australia and New Zealand in that as well, but it's effectively a European plus Canada, those other two countries coalition. So close work there. Straits of Hormuz, working very closely there. G7 French presidency. I mean, there is a series of linkages here from security through to economics that are being reinforced. We're working in real time. Look, I'm out of Canada for, 36 hours, including a chunk of the weekend. By the way, thank you for coming along and blowing your weekend as well. It's an incredibly, this is important, but it's also an incredibly efficient way to spend the time.
As for drumming up business while he's there, the Prime Minister outlined what Europe wants from Canada and what Canada wants from Europe.
When we sit down with the Europeans, the first thing they raise is not energy. Okay, energy is something we raise as being part of the solution. They do raise critical minerals. They do raise defense cooperation. They do raise security cooperation, continuing coordination with respect to Ukraine. They do raise a set of issues around artificial intelligence, space cooperation, the entire digital domain, if I can put it that way, where considerable progress is being made. Yes, energy is part of it, but the framing of this is that the discussions between Canada and Europe start with energy and critical minerals. No, that's just not the way it has been. We do raise energy because we think that in nuclear, with respect to LNG, with respect to, yes, critical minerals as part of the broader energy train, we can be part of the solutions here.
Back at home, the Conservatives have been pounding the drum on the Prime Minister's spending, calling the most recent spring economic update a credit card budget. Speaking in Toronto, this was the Conservative Party leader, Pierre Poilievre.
He promised to spend less. He's doubled Justin Trudeau's deficits. In fact, outside of COVID, he's running the biggest deficit in Canadian history and the highest spending as share of GDP since 1996. He said he'd cut bureaucracy. Bureaucratic spending is up 7%. He said he'd bring down day-to-day operations. They're up 9% in just 1 year, 3 times the combined rate of inflation and population growth. Of the new spending, the parliamentary budget officer says that 2/3 is going to daily operations, not to capital investments. That means Canadians don't get a bridge, a road, a port, or a home. They do not get a permanent asset. They just get permanent credit card debt. That is Carney's credit card budgeting.
One notable idea in that spring economic update is the prospect of Ottawa getting out of the airport business, selling off Canadian airports to private interests. Airports have been in the news recently, with opposition growing to Ontario Premier Doug Ford's plan to expand the Billy Bishop Airport in Toronto. Pierre Poilievre says he supports the expansion of that Toronto airport and anything else that makes taking a flight cheaper for Canadians.
This is great for the economy, for the environment, and for convenience. Like, this is the business district of our biggest city. Why would we not want business travelers to arrive in our business district? It would allow us to have long-haul international flights from the heart of Toronto. It would take traffic off the highways between downtown and Pearson, and it would allow us to expand our air transportation. Also, Pearson is a disaster. Why is Pearson so bad? Because there's no competition for many of its flights. By extending the runway, Pearson would have to fight for more air transportation traffic and perform better. I want to see better air transportation at a lower cost that leaves on time for a change, and that requires competition in our biggest city. My only question is, why did the Liberals, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, kill the expansion of the Billy Bishop Airport back in 2015? And the answer is because their gatekeeping approach is all about blocking opportunity and jobs. We need the opposite. We need to open up construction, build more, faster, now. I'm unequivocal. I'm for more flights, for more competition, for lower costs, for an expanded Billy Bishop Airport.
One estimate in the news media last week pegged the value of Canada's 23 government-owned airports at around $100 billion. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
For some time, MPs have been trying to find out more about another federal government technology program with dubious results and spending. It's called Prescribe IT, or Prescribe It. It costs $300 million. And it's been shut down. Dan Mazier is a Conservative MP from Manitoba. He is the Vice Chair of the Commons Health Committee. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having the interest in this.
What was Prescribe IT supposed to do?
Well, it's basically a $300 million program that was created back in 2017 that was originally made to axe the facts. That's how the Liberals presented it, and it was supposed to reduce the ability, give the doctors the ability to prescribe, make out prescriptions, and basically email them to their pharmacists. So go forward, and that original program was for $40 million. So go forward 10 years, and $300 million later, only 5% of the total prescriptions were actually taken up by the program, and they decided to stop the program. So that's when we started investigating this, and it turns out to be a complete boondoggle.
So almost 10 years and $300 million, and it's non-operational now, Mr. Mazier. Is that right?
Correct.
It's been
they're
shut
shutting
down.
it down.
Okay.
It's shut down.
All right. Okay. I want to ask you a few things about executive compensation. The Globe and Mail reported that someone by the name of Michael Green, CEO, let go now, was paid $900,000 in total compensation in the most recent fiscal year, including a $200,000 bonus. 5 other senior executives earned between $270,000 and $340,000. 24 vice presidents. Is
that amazing? That's just nuts.
It's incredible. All earning between $207,000 and $340,000 a year, and all collecting bonuses in the tens of thousands of dollars. When you hear figures like that, what do you think?
Well, it's outrageous. I like listening to it, and I was reading it. I was mad. I can't imagine all the taxpayers that are listening to this for the first time. It's like the CEO, Michael Green. Like, here he was, and he came to committee, and we asked him directly. Thanks to Conservatives, we started digging into this program. So we brought him into committee, and he couldn't even answer at the very beginning. He wouldn't answer committee how many dollars he actually made. Like how many dollars the Liberals were paying him to run the Health Info Way, so that he was the CEO of, which we found out after the committee that, thanks to our digging, that it was over $800,000. He got last year, and for this failed program, he actually got his maximum bonus of $215,000 for a program, for this waste of money program that was not good, and it was a complete failure. And you usually get paid for performance. I don't know any other system and any other government that would pay this way, but except the Liberals.
It's baffling. It's baffling to me. What?
It is.
I know there's only so much you can say because meetings have gone in camera and I don't want to get you in trouble, but what challenges are you having at getting the information you would like to see?
Yeah, so upon knowing all this or finding out all this information, we called on the Auditor General. We put forward a motion to have the Auditor General investigate this. So we were setting up our meeting. And this was the first day that the Liberals got the majority, their backroom majority, and then they changed the composition of the committees. So they actually had 2 more people instead of the opposition having the power, right? So they took that to the fullest degree, and within minutes, when I presented my motion to have the Auditor General, because we have the Auditor General investigate this, Liberal member investigate Prescribe IT and the $300 million boondoggle. A Liberal member named Maggie Chi, she's a parliamentary secretary for health, voted to shut off the cameras and have this discussion in silence. So basically, that's how they approached this. So that's where we're at. The motion is in there, and they've definitely threw out a bunch of barriers for us to try to figure out and where that money actually went and who got paid for it. That's for sure.
Right. So what options do you have to investigate Prescribe IT outside of committee rooms on Parliament Hill?
Well, we do still have committee work. Like, we'll still keep on bringing the motion forward. Hopefully, we haven't heard back from the Auditor General yet. So that is a tool that's available to us. And then if we get enough noise in that alone, we'll keep on pressing on this. But there's other, tools we can use as opposition, and we'll still keep on shedding light on this. And thanks to great work to investigative journalists like yourself and telling the story, I think the more Canadians find out about this waste of money, like this pattern has not broken. You know how the Liberals like talking about now that they've changed and they've seen their real ways, and Carney's the new guy in town. Well, nothing's changed back here. Like, that's what I could not get over. As soon as they got that absolute power, they were going to throw it right back at Canadians and try to cover up the last 10 years of all their scandalous spending. And I've never been taken so back, actually, in their decision when they put that motion forward. So we'll keep on digging for it, that's for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mazier. Good to hear from you today. All the
Thank
best
you.
to you,
Thanks
sir.
for your interest in it. Stay tuned.
The Vice Chair of the Commons Health Committee, Conservative MP Dan Mazier. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
If you're ever looking for a podcast of our show, now you know with Rob Snow, there's a great new mobile app that will help you hear our show when you want to. It's called the Seeker app. That's Seeker, spelled Seekr. You can listen live. You can listen to the podcast. It has all kinds of exclusive audio that you won't hear anywhere else. News, music, and sports. Download Seeker for iOS or Android. That's Seeker, spelled Seekr. And now you know with Rob Snow's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Oil prices are starting this work week well above $100 US a barrel. The WTI oil price has traded as low as $100 a barrel so far today and as high as $107 a barrel. The Brent oil price has traded as low as $105 and as high as $114. Right now, WTI is at $105. Brent is at $113 US. As for gasoline prices, if you can find gas for sale for less than $1.80 a liter anywhere in Canada, these days, that's what a deal looks like. Across Nova Scotia, the average price is more than $1.90 a liter now. The average price for gas across the province of Alberta today is $1.79.9. It's closer to $1.85 in Calgary. In Ontario, the average price across the entire province is $1.81, but it's much closer to $1.90 in many places. The average price across BC, the average price is $2.02 a liter, but it's more like $2.20 a liter. $2.20 a liter in Vancouver. In sports, a pair of Game 7s last night. The Montreal Canadiens managed to get just 9 shots on goal versus 29 shots on goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But those aren't the numbers that matter. Only the final score matters, and the final score, 2-1 in Game 7 for the Habs. So the Habs move on to the second round against the Buffalo Sabres in the NHL playoffs, and the first game of that series starts on Wednesday. And in the NBA, it was the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors in Game 7, and the Raptors, well, they fell apart in the second half of the game. And in the end, it was Cleveland by 12 points, ending the Raptors' playoff hopes. Round 2 action in the NHL saw the Colorado Avalanche down the Minnesota Wild in a high-scoring affair. Final score 9-6. So Colorado leads that series 1-0. There are a pair of games tonight. It's Carolina and Philadelphia with the Hurricanes up 1-0 in that series. And it's the first game between the Anaheim Ducks and the Vegas Golden Knights. And you can catch all of those games on Sportsnet. The Jays almost made a late comeback, but came up just short. The Jays put up 2 runs in the top of the 9th, but then hit into a game-ending double play. They fell to the Twins yesterday, 4-3. Jays road trip continues today. They open a 3-game series with the Rays in Tampa. Rays are one of the surprises early in this Major League Baseball season. Second best record in the AL, just behind the Yankees, and they're coming into this series with the Jays on a 3-game win streak. Game time tonight for that is 6:40 Eastern on Sportsnet, Sportsnet Plus, and all across the Blue Jays radio network. Rogers owns the Toronto Blue Jays, and Rogers also owns this radio station. We'll talk about federal politics right after the news on News Radio. It's time for our Monday Newsday political panel with Matthew Dube, Vice President at Proof Strategies, former NDP MP. Welcome back.
Hi, Rob.
Very happy Habs fan, I suspect, this morning, Matthew.
Oh, indeed. It was a glorious weekend.
All right. We will all live our NHL playoff dreams vicariously through you. Chris Day is Senior Vice President and Ottawa General Manager at Burson, Hill and Knowlton. Welcome back, Chris. Good to hear from you.
Absolutely living NHL dreams vicariously these days. Our guys were swept. So.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay.
The bandwagon is warm.
And lots of room, I bet. Right, Matthew? Lots of room there on that Habs bandwagon.
Yeah, we're a fun bunch.
Sure
we're
thing.
a fun bunch. Come aboard.
Okay.
Don't mind the fireworks.
I would like to ask you, there's a column in the Toronto Star from Althea Raj today that Mark Carney is taking his base, my word, his base, being progressive voters and women voters, he's taking them for granted. He's letting them down because he is failing to commit to things like expanding pharmacare or increasing federal transfers for healthcare, mental health care, long-term care. There are questions about what could happen with childcare funding if a program lapses. What do you think, Matthew? Is Prime Minister Carney letting down progressives?
I think so, and I think the biggest challenge in the immediate for him will be those progressives who are in his caucus, who are elected under a very different platform and leadership style through the years. You know, multi-term MPs who served under Justin Trudeau, and I think I saw a few posts on social media from Althea alluding to the fact that she got feedback from Liberal MPs on her column. So I think there's obviously a caucus management issue, but to your question, the broader issue of how the public's feeling, I think long term this is a risk. I think right now the NDP is still finding its footing under a new leader. So there's obviously no threat from that perspective. And Canadians, I think, continue to trust, even progressives continue to trust Mark Carney, especially in comparison to Pierre Poilievre in terms of dealing with Donald Trump and all the things that it seems like we discuss every week. So I don't think it'll happen immediately, but at the end, eventually these things will catch up with you. And I think when people look at, increases in defense spending and things like that, and they might not be disagreeing with those increases in defense spending, but I think it starts to demonstrate what your priorities are. And eventually that can catch up with you. Just ask, Stephen Harper, right? Like big on the economy, and that worked for a while, especially during the recession. But eventually, when it starts to paint a picture of where you stand more from a values perspective, that can alienate certain demographics within Canada.
What do you think about this idea, Chris Day, that Carney is letting down the progressive wing of his party?
Well, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that Mark Carney's so-called base is different than, say, Justin Trudeau's so-called base. He won an election a year ago, having consolidated so-called progressive voters and appealing to enough centrist voters, and specifically voters of retirement age in suburbs. As we've talked about many, many times before, elections in this country are won typically in suburbs and specifically amongst women in suburbs. So what Mr. Carney was selling last year played well in the urban centers where the Liberals have traditionally been pretty strong, and he won enough in the suburbs that he was able to command the House. So command the confidence of the House and more since. So I think to Matthew's point, this does open up an eventual lane for the NDP under Abby Lewis, potentially, because this is a series of issues, and I think they're everybody issues that Althea was talking about in her column, but it's a series of issues where the NDP has been traditionally strong. And frankly, in the last campaign, those were not the issues that voters were talking about or voting on.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about today's announcement. Evan Solomon, the AI minister, Melanie Joly, the industry minister, they were at a place called Les Ateliers Beauroc, which is in Vars, Ontario, which is just east of Ottawa, announcing more assistance to tariff-related industries. Basically, loans at favorable terms, $1.5 billion. What do you think about an announcement like that, Matthew?
Well, I think it's clear that the strategy is, and I don't think it's wrong, is to kind of wait out as some of the domestic pressures accentuate on President Trump in the negotiations, as it relates not only to tariffs but the pending negotiations or renegotiation about CUSMA, and I think that providing this kind of support allows industry to scrape by, obviously not under ideal circumstances, but tries to stem the bleeding a little bit and get us through to circumstances that will be more favorable to Canada. So I think it's welcome in that sense. I do. You have to forgive me, Rob. I haven't looked at the in depth of the announcement. I did see that it happened, but one question I always have when I see these announcements is what's being made available for workers. I mean, we saw during the pandemic distinct funds as it related to individuals and then for businesses, because it's not always the same set of priorities. Business wants to survive and live to fight another day, but that doesn't necessarily mean keeping people on payroll and with jobs and the like. And so I think one of the things that consistently seems to be neglected in these announcements is speaking to how individual workers are being supported, because no matter what happens at the end of the day, no matter how many millions and billions of dollars you throw at industry, when this type of pressure is on as it relates to the tariffs, you're going to inevitably see job losses or hours being cut, so wage decreases, and I think it's important for those workers to be supported as well. It's great if industry can survive until we find sort of trade peace again, but the consequences could be very real for people, and then mix that in with all the affordability circumstances that again we continue to discuss. It could be cause a lot of pressure, I think, on the economy from that lens, from the worker side of things.
All right. I'll ask Chris Day to weigh in on that and much more when we continue our conversation today on federal politics, our Monday News Day panel. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
On News Radio.
We're here with Matthew Dube from Proof Strategies and from Burson, Hill and Knowlton, Chris Day. So, Les Atelier Beaurock, just as an example, where this announcement was made, Chris, $1.5 billion favorable loan terms for companies hard hit by tariffs. This company in particular makes the dump body of the dump truck. Now, previous tariff policy from the United States used to say it'd be a 25% tariff on any steel, aluminum, or copper inside your product that's being exported to the United States. But now they've changed that, and now it applies to the whole value of the product. So it would be the whole value, I guess, of the entire dump truck that would be exported to the United States, which would be a lot more than just the dump body of the dump truck. But BRP, for example, Bombardier Recreational Products, got sideswiped by this. $600 million cost to the bottom line for a big Quebec company like that. So here is Ottawa to the rescue again. What do you think of it?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know how much a dump truck goes for these days, but I would imagine it's not cheap. And I would imagine all of these businesses are hurting very, very deeply. And it underlines the need for us to get something workable with our largest trading partner, because frankly, for all of the trade deals that the Prime Minister is looking to secure this year and in future years, nothing is going to replace the fact that, or the truth that geography next to our geographic location next to the world's number one customer means we are going to need to sell more things into the United States and find a workable deal. Now, that's easier said than done. I appreciate that. But it does signal that this government is slow rolling its way into a CUSMA review, and whether that's a smart strategy or not, we'll see what they come out with on the other side. Whether or not the Trump administration will abide by that, we'll see what comes out the other side. But
right.
It's putting people in a position where government is being even more interventionist in the economy. And, we've seen over the last decade that happen. And, to Matthew's point earlier on, it gets really expensive to keep employers and employees connected. But in the long run, it's probably cheaper and easier to do than having mass layoffs and paying people to sit on EI and such.
Sure.
So this is a regrettable one of the regrettable pieces of where we're at, sadly.
Okay. On to other things. Matthew, what do you think about the federal government potentially putting the for sale sign up at Canada's airports?
Well, listen, it's something I proceed with caution on. I think, I appreciate that right now it's all about selling assets to try to help the bottom line and deal with the deficit and everything else. And I understand it's something that airports have been in discussions with the government, but I think whenever you're looking at privatization, you have to be aware of what the consequences will be on consumers. And I think people might look at airports and wonder, oh, hey, consumers, like that's more of an airlines thing than an airports thing, but it is the ecosystem, right, ultimately. And so I think at a time where Canadians kind of feel that they're maybe lacking in protections when it comes to how they're treated by airlines, I think making sure that whole ecosystem is properly governed, I think, is something that's important. So definitely something that is, cause for some trepidation, but I think at the same time, the circumstances are what they are. And if they're looking at doing that, I think it just speaks to what a mess maybe the finances are right now. Despite what they're looking
at it,
right?
They're looking at it because Steve McKinnon was asked point blank, "Are you going to sell the airports?" And he didn't say, "No, of course, that's ridiculous. We would never do that." He said, "We're looking at other ownership models." Right?
Say, Rob, if I may, I think the part of what I've struggled with a little bit over the last week watching this is just how, just the political communications around it, right? Like they're kind of trying to have their cake and eat it too, while saying that they're doing it, but then, or considering doing it, while also not fully admitting it, right? Like they're looking at it, if it's all about asset management, but ultimately it's privatization. And I think they need to call it what it is.
Okay, privatization. Okay. Chris, what do you think about it? Selling the airports?
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of airport authorities about this over the last few days, in fact, and I don't think they're looking at selling the airports per se. But I do think, airports like Calgary's, for instance, they're looking to redo their domestic terminal. Airports like Edmonton, they're looking to really change their model into more of an inland terminal. Airports in Ottawa and Toronto and Montreal all have capital projects that they're looking at. And, so the authorities for these airports are looking at ways to raise money for those capital projects. And, their current tools are somewhat limited. And so they're open to having a discussion with the government about what that could look like. I know some of them have said, they're looking, domestic pension funds potentially may be good partners for that. I don't think we should be thinking that this is opening the door to, us selling airports to foreign investors necessarily. But, I think there will be a series of consultations over the coming months that will maybe lead to some interesting and creative financing stuff.
Okay. When we come back, more support for Ukraine and the growing amount of criticism just to foreign aid, generally speaking. When we return, this is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Here with Chris Day, Matthew Dube, Monday Political Panel. The Prime Minister, in Armenia today, announced another $270 million in support for Ukraine. I get lots of calls from listeners who wonder why our government is giving so much money to Ukraine. It's more than $25 billion now. It seems to be part of a wider critique of foreign aid. People think there's a lot of need here in Canada. We shouldn't be spending so much money in other countries. So, Chris Day, when people ask you about our support for Ukraine, what do you tell them?
So first off, I get that times are tough for a lot of families, and making ends meet on the day-to-day basics is really, really difficult for a lot of people right now. And so I completely appreciate that they're watching every dollar and penny that they spend, and they're watching, what government spends as well. On Ukraine specifically, I say to folks, listen, this is the front line fight for democracy in Europe, and we as allies, as democratic allies, need to support that against an illegal and quite vicious invasion that's now many years dragging on. So it is the cost of being a democratic ally, and one that we cannot afford to lose.
Okay. Matthew, what do you think?
Well, I would definitely echo Chris on the last part of his statement there. That Canada has responsibilities in the world, and I think as tough as times may be, I think many Canadians, despite maybe watching how government is spending money, wouldn't want us to shirk our responsibilities for leadership. At the end of the day, government is not a business. It's not a household. It's not meant to be run that way. Yes, there are bottom line responsibilities that government has, but government also has leadership and moral responsibilities. And I think that this slots in with that. And just to your point about how people are feeling and how frustrated they are, again, I fully appreciate that, how people are feeling right now, given the cost of living. But at the end of the day, I think it's one thing to question the government's priorities, but it doesn't need to be an either or proposition. I think Canada can still play the role that it's playing in the world with our allies in this context in particular, and still provide the kind of support and help that Canadians are looking for when times are tough. I think putting these things in opposition, I think, misses the point. You want to criticize government for missing the boat on helping individual Canadians. It doesn't need to be at the expense of the important work that's being done to support Ukraine in light of everything that Chris so well described.
All right. Thanks to the both of you. And good luck to your team, Matthew, against Buffalo. That should be a dynamite series. Thank you again. Yeah, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, Matthew Dube is Vice President of Proof Strategies, former NDP MP. Chris Day, Senior Vice President, Ottawa General Manager, Burson, Hill, and Knowlton. And Talkback is coming up next on News Radio. Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today, Canada and Ukraine, and Canada and foreign aid. Today, at a European summit in Armenia, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced more aid for Ukraine. This time around, it's $270 million. It's military aid. $270 million, the money to be used to help Ukraine buy more military equipment. It brings the total financial commitment that the Canadian government has pledged to Ukraine since the Russian invasion of Ukraine to close to $26 billion. $26 billion, $25.8 billion. Now, today on Parliament Hill, volunteers of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress are having meetings with politicians and with cabinet ministers. There are 1.4 million Canadians of Ukrainian descent in this country, and they want Canadian support for Ukraine to continue. But it has been suggested in the past by callers to this show many times that we're sending too much money to Ukraine, that it's money that would be better spent on other things here in Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney today said Ukraine is, quote, gaining some advantage in its war with Russia. And he also said that all of Canada is behind Ukraine. So here's a question to start a new week here on Talkback. Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Russia illegally invaded Ukraine back in February of 2022. Of course, in 2014, Russia invaded Crimea. But since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Canada has committed almost $26 billion in aid to Ukraine. Do you support or are you opposed to ongoing Canadian financial support for Ukraine? Share your opinion at 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. We can start right there. Do you support or are you against ongoing Canadian financial support for Ukraine. As well, today, we want to ask you about foreign aid more generally. In a recent report, the federal government outlined where a lot of its foreign aid money is going. The government doesn't call it foreign aid. The government uses the term international assistance. But according to its most recent report, which was for the year 2024-2025, the total amount of money spent on international assistance, or what I would call foreign aid, was $13.4 billion. $13.4 billion, the country getting the most money out of all the countries that get foreign aid from Canada was Ukraine at around $3 billion. But Ukraine is far from the only country getting money from the Canadian government for assistance, for foreign aid. This report outlines the top 20 countries in terms of dollars from Canada. As I said, Ukraine leads the way with more than $3 billion in 1 year. South Sudan is around the middle of the pack with foreign aid of $114 million. And at the bottom of the list of the top 20 countries getting foreign aid dollars from Canada is Indonesia, $89 million. 20 countries, the top 20 countries getting international assistance from Canada from Canadian taxpayers. We sent more than $3 billion in foreign aid to countries across Europe. $3 billion in aid sent to countries all across Africa. $1.4 billion in foreign aid to countries all across Asia. $1.4 billion in foreign aid to the Americas, with Haiti being the top recipient. And it was more than $600 million going to countries across the Middle East, with Palestine, in quotation marks, Palestine being the top source of our foreign aid in that part of the world. But all told, it's more than $13 billion. $13.4 billion. The government says that is money that is used to reduce poverty and to reduce inequality. The government says that is money that can help stabilize fragile conflict areas. Some of that money, according to the government, goes to innovation, to improve the lives of people in the developing world, and some of the money is used to promote economic growth and economic opportunities in emerging economies. It has its critics, however, foreign aid. One of them is Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party leader, who has said foreign aid spending should be cut back dramatically. Now, the Carney government is not spending as much on foreign aid as the Trudeau government did. The Carney government reduced foreign aid spending by about $2.7 billion, but it's still almost $13.5 billion. We want to know where you stand on that kind of spending. Canada spends almost $13.5 billion on foreign aid. Do you support that level of spending? Do you think it's too much? Aid for Ukraine and foreign aid more broadly. Tell us your opinion about where the billions go. 1-833-668-2577 is our call-in line. If you've never called before, just mention that and we'll make your call a priority. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Topics today for Talkback: aid for Ukraine and foreign aid. Prime Minister Mark Carney committed another $270 million to Ukraine today, bringing Canada's total financial commitment to that country to almost $26 billion. Do you support Canada's continued support for Ukraine? Almost $26 billion so far. And last year, Canada spent almost $13.5 billion on foreign aid. Do you support that level of spending on foreign aid? Is it too much? 1-833-668-2577. Yancey, up first in Calgary. Hello.
Hey, Rob, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you for calling. What's your opinion?
Well, I'm calling on the Ukraine funding. I just don't think we should do it, first of all, because we need a better military. ourselves? And second of all, I have no idea how Chrystia Freeland got the check writing job in Ukraine. And I really do not trust the Liberals. So that's my point.
Okay. You would rather the money was spent here, you're saying, on our military?
It should be spent here. And any money spent here, we know where it's going. I don't know how Chrystia Freeland, a Liberal, gets the job of finance minister in Ukraine. It's just very odd to me and a little crooked. Anyways, you have a great day.
Thank you. Is she some special advisor or something to Zelensky right now before she takes over the Rhodes Scholarship job in the UK later this year? That's my understanding. Okay, thank you. Matt is in Kitchener, and he's up next on Talkback. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Rob. Canada's not a rich country. We're rich in debt. Think about it this way. 1 million seconds is 11 years. 30 or 1 billion seconds is 33 years. And under this Liberal government, they've added $1 trillion. Fast math. That's about 2,000 years before we can pay off that debt.
Okay. Well, I mean, with the stroke of a pen, the Prime Minister announced $270 million again for assistance in Ukraine today. What do you think about that?
This is a European problem. We've punched way above our weight, and it's time for Europe to take on that full burden. It's in their backyard, not ours.
Okay. You don't think there's any role for Canada to play whatsoever over there?
We haven't gotten
financially or otherwise?
What did we get from Ukraine? Did we get technology in drones? Did we get grain? Did we get anything from Ukraine, or did we just, here's $30 billion? What did we get back? I mean, the USA went through that complaint that they were just giving over hundreds of billions of dollars and got nothing. What has Canada got for this? It would be one thing if we got technology.
Okay. So this idea, standing up against tyranny, fighting for democracy, you don't buy into any of that sort of stuff?
No, I buy into it.
We're supporting a democratic ally? Okay.
We should be getting something in return for helping them. We're getting nothing.
What should we be getting in return?
We should be getting
drone technology.
Drone technology.
I see. Okay.
And they're, along that lines. Are we getting anything, or we're just handing them truckloads of money? And they've also been caught in massive corruption over there. There's no accounting for where the money went.
Yeah, they're trying to make progress on that with fighting corruption. I don't know what kind of progress has been made, but they want to clean up their problems with corruption because they want to be part of the EU eventually, sometime down the road, and they can't with the corruption record that they have. You are right to point that out. 1-833-668-2577, 1-833-668-2577. There are some lines available. Again, $270 million announcement for Ukraine today, and it's $25.8 billion in 4 years for Ukraine. Do you support Canada's continued support for Ukraine? Where do you stand on that? Speaking, $13.5 billion or so. What do you think of that level of support going global in the run of a year? 1-833-668-2577. 3 or 4 lines available there. We are stopping here. We'll be right back with more of your calls. I'm Rob Snow. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Support for Ukraine now getting close to $26 billion after an announcement today from the Prime Minister. Another $270 million for military equipment. $13.4 billion in the last year on foreign aid all over the world. 1-833-668-2577 as we ask what you think of these spending levels. David is in Red Deer. Hello, David.
Hello.
Hi, David. What's your opinion?
Well, my opinion is we shouldn't be financing them anymore. I used to think that this was kind of a current problem, But the last few months, I've been reading a book of the world history over the last 4,000 to 5,000 years. And my observation is Russia and Ukraine, or the equivalent, because Ukraine's been part of Russia and it hasn't been. This has been going on for about 800 years, and it is still not settled. And my thinking is, how many more 100 years is this going to keep going? And I think that, you know, it's none of our, I mean, it's our problem in a way. I mean, we're part of the world. But all we're doing is just promoting war. We're promoting the dishonesty and corruption that Ukraine is noted for, and Russia too, I'm sure. So, no, I'm not in favor of it at all. If we've got that kind of money kicked down, we better start using it in Canada.
Okay, you think it would be better spent here in Canada because people, like the Prime Minister, for example, he says all Canadians are behind Ukraine. This is our fight. It's a fight for democracy. It's a fight against the darkness of tyranny. You don't buy into any of that? You don't think so?
I don't totally know. Not all Canadians are behind Ukraine, let's face it. I mean, that's kind of a figure of speech, I'm sure. But when you talk to the average person on the street, there are an awful lot of people that say we have no business being over there. All we're doing is just prolonging the feud that's been going on for hundreds of years.
Right.
And corruption is very well known over there.
Sure. So should we just let Russia have it?
No, but if Ukraine wants to keep fighting, the reality is Ukraine has been part of Russia from time to time. And I guess it would take someone that knows a lot more about, you know, world history than I do, but
yeah, well,
we're fighting against a war that like never end, I think, to be honest.
You think it's a never-ending war and it's a waste of money. Fair enough, sir. That's why I'm asking the opinion today. I'm not encouraged by what I'm hearing so far. I'm kind of surprised. Let's go to Kim is in Calgary. Hello, Kim. You're up next. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, Kim. Thank you. What's your opinion?
This is a losing battle. We're throwing money in the toilet. It's terrible. I don't understand how this government has the right to spend that much billions of dollars of our taxpayers' money. When I go outside the door, I see homeless people sitting on the street. There's so much people here in Canada that need help, and we're throwing away billions of dollars. You're talking about democracy. What right does the government have to, say what's democratic and not? Look at, are they helping the Palestinian people? Are they helping the Sudanese people? No.
Yes.
Not as much as they are helping Ukraine.
Well, no, not as much. But you asked. We sent $168 million last year to Palestine.
Yeah, but how many billions have they given now to Ukraine? And this is a losing battle, man. Like this, you have to take care of your own people before you fight other people's battles. And with what Trump's doing in this world, there's going to be so many wars. How many wars is the Canadian government going to go and stop and and fight democracy? And let their own people in their own country starve. It's terrible. There should be a referendum on this, on the amount of spending that is done of foreign aid. People should be asked. The general public should be asked where the taxpayers' dollars can go.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. Again, just some bare bones numbers for you. It's $13.4 billion in foreign aid. I can go down the list of the top 20 countries anyway that are getting money in foreign aid from Canada. Ukraine is number one on the list. Haiti used to be number one on the list. For the longest time, it was Haiti. That's dropped down to third on the list now, but it's all told $13.5 billion and almost $26 billion for Ukraine. Aid for Ukraine, foreign aid overall. That's what we're talking about. It's been 4 years of war in Ukraine. It's been 4 years of the Canadian government supporting Ukraine in its war effort following the illegal invasion by Russia, the full-blown invasion by Russia in 2022. 4 years of war. Easy to appreciate some people have war fatigue. Tired of hearing about it? Tired of hearing about hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars going to Ukraine because there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. Canadian Ukrainians, I think, understand that better than most. And in fact, today, volunteers from the Ukrainian Canadian Congress, they're knocking on doors all over Parliament Hill. And they are bending the ears of MPs and cabinet ministers because they want Canada and they want Canadians. They're pleading for continued support for their country. The national president of the Ukrainian Canadian Congress is Alexandra Hishi, and this is what she had to say on a day when the Prime Minister announced another $270 million in military aid for Ukraine.
For over 4 years, Ukrainian heroism has inspired the world. Every day, the Ukrainian people pay an unimaginable price for their freedom. The Ukrainian people fight because they must. If Russia stops fighting, there will be peace. If Ukraine stops fighting, there will be no Ukraine. We thank all Canadians for their generosity and support of Ukraine's righteous fight. Canadians have donated millions of dollars. They have welcomed displaced Ukrainians, and we are grateful for over $25 billion in assistance provided by the Government of Canada since 2022. We're also grateful for the most recent announcement of the continuation of Operation Unifier with a commitment of over $2 billion over the next 3 years, and this morning's announcement by Prime Minister Carney of $270 million for military aid for the NATO priority list.
So that's the national president, Ukrainian Canadian Congress, Alexandra Hishi. And you hear, how many times does he say, we're grateful, we're grateful, we're grateful? You hear expressions of this is what Ukraine is up against. And the Prime Minister, during his remarks today, I don't have the audio clip of it, but he's quoted in the news media saying today, all of Canada is behind Ukraine. Well, it's $25.8 billion later. Let's put that to the test. Tyler in Nova Scotia. Tyler. Hello, Tyler.
$25.8 billion fixes a lot of potholes.
I suppose so. Yeah.
It's, there's obviously a big geopolitical aspect to this. You have to ask the question, why is Ukraine fighting? And you also have to ask the question, why is Russia fighting? Right? And, there's deep-rooted things in both of those answers. But the real question that you're asking today is, why is Canada sending money? And I think the reason is, well, first of all, we shouldn't be, but the reason is it's essentially money laundering. What's happening is we are sending billions of dollars in aid, whether it's military or financial, and these end up supporting companies that are in the United States and Canada, defense manufacturers, all that stuff, to go out and use the weapons to destroy a place. And then who's going to go back in and rebuild this place? It's going to be more loans and more companies that are allied with our interests that are going to go in there and fix all of this stuff. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's money laundering, and it's at the sake of lives, of people's lives, and it's absurd.
So what you're outlining would be something like, you think this is in support of the military-industrial complex?
Essentially,
right?
Yeah. And I mean, Dwight Eisenhower spoke about it. I mean, it's absolutely.
Okay.
I think that Canada throughout our history, specifically World War I, World War II, and Bosnia, Afghanistan, we have had our red and whites over and fighting for freedom, fighting for peace, fighting for the things that we want back home. And we may not be sending physical troops right now other than advisors and stuff, but what we are sending is money that should be put into our home defense, what should be being put into fixing our potholes and fixing our encampment issues and the housing crisis and all of that. Instead of inflating the market and creating inflation by printing more money and giving it more and more away, let's fix the problems back home before we start sending financial aid elsewhere. And what is a clear path to sending troops and military vehicles, stuff like that. It's absurd.
Right.
We
Thank
need
you,
to
Tyler.
fix what's going on here in our
Understood. You've been clear. Thank you. Going to go to Al is in Nanton, Alberta. Hello, Al.
Hello, Rob. See, I've been listening for the last half hour, but I'll tell you, some of these people, it's scary when we talk democracy. That the guy on the end of that phone line, with enough connections can run and be part of our parliament. It's really scary. I say, as long as Ukrainians are fighting and can continue to fight, let's support them. Because what in hell is the other side of it? The other side of it is somebody like Putin telling me and you what to do tomorrow, and it's really scary. Yes, it's money, and there's lots of other places to spend it, but Ukraine needs the support.
Okay. You hear the frustration, though, in the previous callers, right? They see it's kind of a bottomless pit with no end in sight. You understand their frustration, right? I understand the frustration, too.
The guy that's reading 5,000 years of history, and they used to be part of Russia. Yes, well, we used to be part of somewhere, too. It's really scary.
It's been pretty clear. I mean, they declared their independence when the end of the Soviet Union seemed near in 1991. They don't want to be part of Russia. They want to be more part of Europe. They want an independent Ukraine with closer ties to Europe, not closer ties to Russia. That's part of what all of this is about.
And I say we've got to keep supporting them. We've got to, because if Russia, where we made a mistake was back when they walked into Crimea and nobody said anything. Our buddies down across the border, the guy in the White House right now, he did the same thing in Venezuela, and nobody said anything. Where the hell is he today? He's over in the Arab states doing the same crap. Come on, this is, and him and Putin are buddies.
So you see the Ukrainians as freedom fighters who need our support. You are in the minority opinion today. I expected more people during Talkback today to express your view of it. That has not materialized so far. It's early, it's Talkback, and there are lots of lines available and lots of calls to take on support for Ukraine and foreign aid overall. On Monday's Talkback here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Ken in Cochrane is up next on aid for Ukraine and foreign aid. Hello, Ken.
Hi, Rob. I think that we should be continuing to contribute foreign aid to Ukraine. And I'll tell you that I believe this foreign aid has to be it has to be watched. Yes, Ukraine is known for corruption. They've attempted to try and ameliorate that over time. And from what I understand, there is closer scrutiny on a lot of the spending that's going on. But, if in 1994, people have to remember this. In 1994, there was the Budapest Memorandum of Security for Ukraine. And at that point in time, Britain, the United States, Russia, and that was a little suspect, I guess, when we know what's happened. France, as well as China, and a few other countries, guaranteed Ukraine's security if they would give up their nuclear weapons. They were at one point in time, I believe, they had the third largest nuclear arsenal after the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union broke.
Yes.
And I can tell you that I'm sure that if those nuclear weapons were not given up, Russia would have thought twice about invading Ukraine. Not only that, but it almost seems contrived that Russia was a part as a signatory and promised that they would defend Ukraine, and then went ahead and attacked them. If we're going to allow Russia to do those kinds of things, we might as well let Russia come over the Bering Strait and become, occupiers of Canada, because, it's ludicrous that people are phoning in today saying, well, no, we shouldn't be. We can fix a lot of potholes. We don't have to worry about potholes if Russia gets its way, everywhere that it wants to go. And we're not that far away. So we know that they're trying to take over the Arctic. We're not that far away, folks. Give your head a shake. Thanks.
Give your head a shake. Thank you, Ken. Okay. Rob is up next. First time caller. Rob, I believe, is in Cochrane as well. Hello, Rob.
Yeah, hi there. I'm going to add to the many people that have been phoning in to say that it's time to stop sending money and weapons. It's an endless war. It's an unwinnable war. If Europe and the West and NATO, but particularly Europe, actually wants to put a stop to this, they actually need to just full-on fight the war, push Russia back. There's no sense spending the next 5 or 10 years sending more billions, more weapons, killing more people. It just drags everything out and causes more death and more destruction. So Europe, the West, NATO either needs to full-on engage and push Russia out if that's what they want to do, or they need to just let things happen and it stops with Ukraine. It's not going to go past Ukraine into NATO territory.
Well, that's World War III then. That's World War III then, right?
Well, not
if
necessarily.
NATO countries become involved, say with boots on the ground to active military participation in the war in Ukraine, the war will not stop in Ukraine, right? The war will come to every NATO country, will it not? Including us?
Well, I guess it depends on how it's initiated. And I can't say how that's going to happen, but there has to be a way to either put an end to it or it's just going to keep going forever. There's no – what's happening now is not working. All the money being sent, all the weapons being sent, it's not having any good effect.
You don't think it's making a difference? You don't think it's making a difference? Kind of a money pit. A money pit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like other callers have said, it's a money pit. It's endless money. It's money laundering. It's all that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Rob. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Ukraine, total assistance to Ukraine now. Not just military assistance. It's military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance, security, stabilization, refugees, Ukrainian refugees coming to Canada, support that we give them while they're here in Canada. What do you think of this? It's almost $26 billion in the last 4 years. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
$270 million announcement today from Prime Minister Mark Carney. More funding for Ukraine to buy military hardware from NATO. We are asking, do you support continued support for Ukraine? It's approaching $26 billion in the last 4 years. Part of the $13.4 billion we spend in any given year on foreign aid. 1-833-668-2577. To Alex in Waterloo. Thanks for calling, Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, no problem. I've actually done a deep dive on this issue over the last few years during the war, since the start of the war, and it's really, really a complicated issue. It truly is. Like your last caller talked about the nuclear bombs and stuff. Well, yeah, that's true, but also NATO signed a treaty with Russia that they wouldn't move 1 inch east, and they did. So, I mean, there's just so much going on over there. There really is. The problem with the money goes, all foreign aid, there's no accountability to it. Like the stuff in Haiti, where did it go exactly? What did it buy exactly? Was it stolen? Like, for example, all the top leadership in Ukraine are now billionaires. That's just true. They're buying.
I don't know if it's true.
Well, you look into it. They're buying the most expensive cars in Europe. They're buying up real estate all over the place. This is pretty accepted truth. Again, it's a very complicated issue. I personally, there's Russians in parts of Ukraine. There's Germans in parts of Ukraine. There's Ukrainians. There's Polish. It's a whole mixed mash of stuff. Personally, I think leave them alone. They need to stop.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could say the same thing about Canada, but shouldn't we be free and democratic And wouldn't we expect people to come to our aid if, I don't know, Russia invaded Canada?
Everyone knows there's only one country that can come to aid in any meaningful way, and that's the United States. That's it. That's it. There's no unless the United States gets involved. No one else matters. Europe has no standing armies of any consequence. We have none. We have our airplanes, or we have nothing. We rely on the Americans for our security, and that's just the truth of it. But the money is the problem, and to me, all I see is a bunch of people getting killed for no reason. In the end, they'll get a peace deal, and all these people will have died for nothing, but there'll be a lot of people get very, very rich. And that's the part that really bothers me. And again, I've done a lot of deep dive into this over the years. I've listened to different colonels and generals.
So based on everything you've said, should this aid end? Should this aid end altogether then? Cut it off. Okay, thank you. I want to take one more. Thank you, Alex in Waterloo. Says, cut it all off. Steve in Windsor, Nova Scotia. Hello, Steve. This is a popular opinion.
Rob,
today.
how you
Hi,
doing?
Steve. Very good, Steve. What's your
how
opinion?
Are you today?
Good.
Well, I'm 100% in favor of continuing to support Ukraine. I mean, they're over there fighting. They're fighting for a cause. They're fighting for freedom, and we've got to keep. I think we've got to keep focused on that in particular. And what I find interesting is that this war that Putin said 4 years ago was going to take a couple of weeks. It wasn't really a war. It was just an incursion into the country to take it over. It's now 4 years later. That sounds like Donald Trump about 2 months ago saying it was going to take 2 weeks to deal with Iran. But here's also what's that?
4 to 6 weeks, he said.
Donald
Trump said 4 to 6 weeks. Yes.
Yeah. But a part of this $25 billion, a fair chunk of that is in loans and loan guarantees that must be paid back. The money's been put out. Some of it's guaranteed by Canada through the IMF, through the G7, through a whole bunch of. So it's not $25 billion that we've just given out and never getting it back. There's a fair chunk of it. And at the end of the day, at this point in time, here's the sad part about it. 250,000 Russians have now died in that war, and over 1 million Russians have been injured in that war. What has been exposed is their ability to fight wars now. Ukraine, which is so much smaller, has made it clear to everybody that Russia is not this massive force that everybody thinks that it is.
Okay, thank you. Be right back. Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback. I'm Rob Snow. We have been talking about ongoing assistance to Ukraine and foreign aid more generally. Prime Minister Mark Carney committed another $270 million to Ukraine today, bringing Canada's total financial commitment to Ukraine to almost $26 billion in the last 4 years. Do you support continued support for Ukraine? And last year, Canada spent $13.4 billion on foreign aid. Our foreign aid budget all over the world, $13.4 billion. Do you support that level of spending on foreign aid? Is that too much? What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. As I said, a full-on press today by members of the Canadian-Ukrainian community lobbying people on Parliament Hill. We know it's been 4 years. We're very grateful for the support of Canada in our fight against the Russians in Ukraine. Leading that charge on the Hill today, Alexandria Hichi, National President of Ukrainian Canadian Congress, who told a news reporter this morning we could actually be doing more.
Well, we, of course, are grateful for everything that Canada has done. Prime Minister Carney this morning met with President Zelensky in Armenia. He made a meaningful announcement of an additional $270 million for the priority weapons list. Of course, Canada has now provided over $25 billion in support. Can we do more going forward? Of course. This is a global effort, or at least one that the EU, the UK, and Canada are aligned on. And, Ukraine, of course, is grateful for those efforts, but more can be done, and the ultimate test will be when this war ends.
So again, I mean, I hear expressions of gratitude in there, and I get the sense the Ukrainian Canadian Congress realizes that in some corners of Canada, these sorts of announcements are wearing thin. $270 million in aid to Ukraine. They're going over like a lead balloon. And we've heard it expressed in the first hour by the majority of callers. Some people see it as more money thrown into a giant bottomless money pit. And they would rather the money be spent here. What do you think? It has been almost $26 billion, but Prime Minister Carney has been adamant that the money will stop flowing when Ukraine wins this war, when this war comes to an end. Do you support Canada's ongoing support for Ukraine? And then we can talk about foreign aid a little more generally. Vadim in Calgary.
Yes.
Vadim, hi there. What's your opinion?
I am. How are you? Yeah.
Good, thank you.
So there is a few things I want to stress out. The first thing is that people talking about money, especially when we're talking about military aid, you have to realize that all those ammunition and weapons, you say the NATO send or Canada send to Ukraine, it has a shelf life, has expiration date, and actually NATO and Canada saving money on recycling of those things because they send it right now to Ukraine. So, moreover, it will give you opportunity to refill those stocks with a fresh equipment and a fresh ammunition. Second thing is, like previous caller told about that memorandum, the Ukraine was so trustful and they became unprotected. And United States and Great Britain promised border integrity for Ukraine. That integrity was broken by Russia. So, for example, if right now United States decided to build a highway to Alaska to have a connection between mainland and Alaska and cut off 20% of British Columbia, how Canada will respond? Is it Canada expected help from Great Britain or NATO in that situation, or financial support, or military support? What do you think?
Okay, well, what do you think?
Well, I think that Canada can't afford by himself to protect any invasion from United States. And
of course
the situation is absolutely mirrored because Russia used to be a second biggest army and a well-equipped in the world, and Ukraine has nothing. And because of limited support in 2023, when Ukraine pushed back very, very hard, and the Biden administration and the NATO said, no, we don't want to poke that bear, we don't want an escalation, they limited Ukrainian support. They said, you can use those missiles, but you cannot shoot at more than 100 kilometers from border or whatever, crap. And because of that, Ukraine right now developed very, very good their own drone army. And right now, that Iran situation shows that Ukraine is so powerful in that. So they build the plants right now, even in Canada, to manufacture those things and sell it worldwide. So it's another advantage to be friendly with Ukraine right now.
Okay. Thank you. So you're supportive of ongoing assistance to Ukraine, yes?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You're saying look in the mirror. Yeah, sure. Okay. Thank you, Vadim. Yeah. Again, that is the minority view today. Puma up next in Calgary. Hello, Puma.
Hello. Good afternoon, Rob. How are you?
Yeah. Hi there. Very good. Yeah. What's your opinion?
My opinion is of this. Nobody's coming to the table for peace. They're not willing to negotiate. Everybody's sitting there stubborn. And when people are like that, then no, I don't believe we should be giving any more aid to Ukraine. I think that people need to give their head a shake and go with a peace plan. However, the world is still trading with Russia. They haven't impacted Russia's economy whatsoever. There's countries buying oil from them. There's shipments going back and forth. Nobody's unified in any stretch of the imagination. We have people suffering here in Canada that need help and that don't get help. Our system is falling apart. And I think that the money should be better spent here. And the last point, we are one of the highest taxed nations out there, and I think we need a break. We work 24/7, day in, day out, and then boom, there's $25 billion to here's this many billion to this country, that many billion to that country. Well, I'm not saying, but you got to look after your house first, and this is our house.
All right. Thank you, Puma. There you go. Two totally opposite views to start hour number 2 of Talkback on foreign aid and aid to Ukraine. Where do you come down on that one, folks? 1-833-668-2577. It's been very busy so far on Talkback today on this topic, but for the first time, every single line is available, so we'd love to hear from you. We won't be long at all. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
We have been talking about aid for Ukraine and foreign aid today and your levels of support. Kareem in Calgary is up next, a first-time caller. Hello, Kareem.
Hi there. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, Kareem. What's your opinion?
Good. My opinion is just I'm just asking from the federal parliament that's all the taxpayer money is going there. That's not fair because of every day we have a big lineup in the food bank and everywhere in Canada because right now everywhere have a complaint about the work, about everything, but just still we are helping the country we don't need because even right now they have with no planning of what they're going to do in the future. And also just we saw that recently if they start with no plan to fight and they're going to lose. But still, I don't know why the Canada or most of the country, I don't know about them, but just in Canada, why they keep help them and keep sending the taxpayer money for no reason. I don't know. Just we should to stop this one because.
Well, I can tell you one of the reasons. I can tell you one of the reasons that is commonly cited, Kareem, and for the rest of the people who are on the line listening, and for those listening across the country today, Russia cannot be rewarded for hostile actions. It cannot be rewarded, and we can't roll over and watch Russia invade a sovereign country. If Putin is allowed to do this and succeed without consequence, why would he stop there?
Yeah, because even right now, every 3 months, every 4 months, if they need money for any complement to what they're going to use that money for, and they're just coming and they take the money out, and even the federal is just gave the money away for them for no reason, no asking question where this money is going, and just sending a small bill. Okay, this is the one we have to use for, but there's no result for that. That's why we're just keep sending the taxpayer money for no reason, and just they have to ask.
You say it's no reason. Okay, Kareem. Thank you. Yeah, it's for no reason. Linda in Southern Alberta up next. Linda.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi,
I'm
Linda.
in
What's your
support of that, supporting them because from what I understand, a third of the money is going for administration, paying their soldiers and et cetera like that. And we will benefit if in the time comes, you say, okay, now we want your technology. You show us how we can fight off anybody when it comes to drones and that kind of technology, because they're advancing, because they have a war and they're advancing new ways of fighting. And as far as our money, well, if we would stop the losses that we are taking in our federal government through corruption and what have you, we'd have more than enough money to fill our potholes. That's my opinion.
Okay. I will say, and I thank you for your call, Linda, just on Ukraine and the view on Parliament Hill right now on ongoing support for Ukraine in Ottawa. Among conservatives and liberals, there is not a lot of daylight between what the liberals stand for on the Ukraine war and where the conservatives are on the Ukraine war. Part of that is because of domestic politics. There is a massive Ukrainian Canadian population in Canada. It's like the largest outside of Ukraine. So the 1.4 million people in Canada have Ukrainian relatives, Ukrainian ancestry. This was always going to be a huge domestic political issue. We'll stop here. We'll take more of your calls. If you're on the line, be patient, please. We'll get to you. Won't take long. On aid for Ukraine and foreign aid, another $270 million announced by Prime Minister Carney today while he was abroad in Armenia, of all places, at a European summit. Canada, the only non-European country at that summit. But it's been $25.8 billion over the last 4 years, support for Ukraine, part of $13.4 billion that we spend every year on foreign aid. Your thoughts? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On aid for Ukraine and foreign aid generally speaking, we go to Hamid in Calgary today. Hello, Hamid.
Hello, Rob. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. What's your opinion?
Sir, I have a very simple opinion that what is the objective, what we are trying to achieve from this war paying such a high price. Do you know that, please?
Well, I think it's to repel the Russian invasion. Shouldn't that be the end goal? And to secure sovereignty, territorial sovereignty for Ukraine?
So are we responsible for every country in the world? Our Canadian taxpayer are responsible for that? And
well,
why
it's not
only
just
Ukraine?
Okay. It's not just Canada again that is supporting Ukraine. The European Union is supporting Ukraine. The UK is supporting Ukraine. The United States is supporting Ukraine. It's not like we're alone in supporting Ukraine, right?
Yes, sir. You are right. But they have interest in Ukraine because they are getting their gas and other commodities from Ukraine, but not America, Canada, right?
Okay.
Or America. And
Right.
it's the
We
same
do
thing.
do
You have-
trade.
have no-
We do about $500 million worth of trade with Ukraine. I suspect most of that is our trade going there. We export military equipment. We export coal to Ukraine. We export firearms to Ukraine, and they send us things like uranium, sunflower seeds, oils. They're a big sunflower seed producer, and sunflower oil, right? That's a big business for them.
So you're trying to say that we want to pay $26 billion for $500 million trade?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, that is a thinking here. That is a mindset in this world that when you don't have any imminent threat, but you still want to invade other countries, and the people end up paying the price for that. Yeah, true or false?
Well, the people who are paying the price right now, I'm sure you would agree, are the people of Ukraine. The people of Ukraine did not want a war. Russia invaded Ukraine 4 years ago, illegally.
That is their local problem. Russia.
It's just a local problem?
Yugoslavia, other countries which were the part of Russia, and they are not anymore, right?
Sure,
like Bosnia. But why we are having war specifically for Ukraine, and technically, I think we are making the situation worse by fighting and prolonging this war. They're always saying that we're going to end it, but it's not happening for the last 1.5 years since Mr. Donald Trump claimed that he's going to end this war. Yes or no?
Okay, so you think we should not be supporting Ukraine? Like, should we just cut the flow of money off from Canada to Ukraine? As you say, more than $25 billion.
Respectfully, sir, we are taking a lot of refugees from Ukraine. I'm absolutely in favor of that for the humanitarian reason, right? I respect that. But the only problem is, sir, that we have a mindset to invade other countries just for nothing, and it makes the situation even worse and end up paying a lot of taxes and inflation. Don't you think so?
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't. You keep saying we keep invading countries. Ukraine is the country that's been invaded in this case. It's the one that's been invaded. You use other Cold War examples. Well, if Putin can get away with his adventure in Ukraine, I mean, look at a map. What does that mean for other countries in that area? You say it's a local problem. Well, what does that mean for Estonia or Moldova or Romania or Poland, Slovakia, Czech, all these countries? No. It gets away with seizing Crimea, takes 20% of Ukraine's territory. The West does nothing. Why would he stop there? 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. What I have just expressed is the minority opinion. Today, a few other callers have shared that opinion. The majority have not. Where do you stand on the aid for Ukraine and foreign aid in general? This is News Radio. The final 25 minutes, the home stretch of Talkback, aid for Ukraine, foreign aid. We've been talking about that today. Alex is in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. I don't think I've ever taken a call from Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Hi, Alex.
Yes. Hi, Rob. How are you?
Very good. How are things in Three Rivers today?
It's still muddy.
Muddy. Okay.
Yeah.
I can relate.
Rob, I, as a proud Canadian, I would like to keep this in our blood, helping other countries. I don't mind really helping other countries with whatever we got, but we need a good cause. Now, according to what you said, the good cause is we cannot allow Russia to invade Ukraine. I agree with you, but at the same time, we have to be realistic and to help other countries also at the same time. If we need to help Ukraine, we have to help Lebanon. Israel attacking Lebanon every day. We have to help Iran. Israel attacked Iran. We have to help Palestine, which is invaded since 75 years, and nobody helping. So helping itself to help other countries, I don't mind. It's a nice thing to do, but we need it for good cause.
Yes,
now,
I will say we are helping. If I could, sir, if I could, you say we should help Lebanon. Well, in foreign aid, we sent almost $100 million to Lebanon last year. I wonder where that money went. $100 million.
Nothing to.
Well, it pales in comparison. It pales in comparison. And Palestine, and the government documents listed as Palestine, not like the West Bank and Gaza. They say it's Palestine. Last year, $167 million went to Palestine in foreign aid. Just to let you know.
Compared to what we are sending to Ukraine, it's nothing.
Again, it pales in comparison. Yes. Yes.
What we sent to Sudan. What did we send to Sudan? They are dying. They have no food.
South Sudan, I can tell you, South Sudan, 114 million, Sudan, 110 million. So $225 million between the two countries.
Our unemployment rate is so high in Canada. At the same time, we are rated as one of the countries, the most potholes in all our streets, even highways. We need a lot of work inside our countries before we start to send out.
Okay. So it is your opinion, because you're kind of sending me mixed messages here now. I'm telling you we've spent, okay, well, let's just start here. Almost $26 billion on Ukraine. Should we spend that money or not? Or should we end that?
Way less. Because this is agenda,
okay, fair enough.
And this is money laundering in my opinion, because we got nothing from it.
Okay, $13.4 billion in total foreign aid. What about that figure? What do you think of that figure?
Foreign aid for mixed countries in needed. It's nice as a Canadian to help.
Okay, thank you. Hope things dry out there, Alex. Yeah, flooding probably an issue down there. Amin, do we have Amin? Is up next?
Yep.
Amin. Yeah. Hi there, Amin.
Hey.
What's your opinion?
Well, my opinion is 26 million to billion is a little too much, considering Canada itself has its own problems right now. I'm from Alberta. Alberta is fighting for separatism. You think that's it's all about just having different political views? Has part to do with it, but it also has main part is the federal government does not spend enough on provinces to expand their resources. Instead, we are sending it elsewhere to endless wars. We should spend some of that money at home.
At home, yes, at home.
At home.
It's popular opinion today.
At home, it is a popular opinion, and the reason why it's a popular opinion is the cost of living. Like people have mentioned, Look at the lines in the food banks. It's ridiculous. As Canada being a first world nation, we should not have food banks lined up as far as it goes and send all this billions to Ukraine. And I'm not saying the war in Ukraine and supporting Ukraine is a bad thing. We should help them. But how much can we help? What is the limit of our help? How far can we actually give money?
Okay.
Because
Do you think we've reached that limit? Do you think we've reached that limit at 26 billion? Beyond it.
We've gone beyond it. Because look at the amount of years they've been fighting. Look at Russia's history. Russia is not a country that's not willing to stop a war unless they win. You think we can every year keep sending billions and expect to win? It's not going to happen. Ukraine is running out of men to fight in the war. So what are we going to do when there's no more men to fight in Ukraine? Are we going to send our own men to fight for them? Because money isn't just going to win a war for you. You need bodies to fight the war. And Ukraine is running out of bodies. Russia, look at its history. They will throw bodies at this war endlessly.
True enough.
Endlessly.
True enough.
Yeah, and when we talk about
that
morals
is their
and
history.
democracy, and we talk about morals and democracy, right now in Ukraine with their conscription, people are just being plucked off the roads. Is that very democratic? It's not. Look at their corruption rate. The corruption is so insane in Ukraine. That's where rich people go to launder money and steal money. How much of this money can we actually account for? Where did this money go? Who do we hold to actually answer these questions to Canadians? How it's being spent.
Thank you.
Where it's being spent.
Yep. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Just on corruption. And I thank you for your call. There is an annual index of the world's least and most corrupt countries. Even these days, to the caller's point, Ukraine is a lot closer to the bottom of the list than the top. Transparency International does the corruption rankings, 141 countries. Russia was last on the list, most corrupt country in the world, Russia, out of 141. Ukraine, though, 104th out of 141. Denmark was the top of the list as the least corrupt country in the world. So to the caller's point, I appreciate it, I really do. People have a lot of doubts whether all of this money, Canadian money, is going to help Ukraine fight and even possibly win a war. Have your say. Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On aid for Ukraine and foreign aid, Agata, up next on Talkback.
Hello.
Hello there. Hi there. What's your opinion?
Rob. Rob, I haven't listened to the full discussion, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating other people's opinion, but I am of Polish heritage, very, as you can tell from my accent, very interested in that topic, and indirectly affected also because my family and my friends still live in Poland, and my mom is 80 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border. We also border with Russia, which is another scary thing. So what happened to the Ukraine is just unspeakable. It is a war crime what's going on there, and we need to name the aggressor by name. It's Putin and his agenda. However, I have lived in Canada for 30 years, and I see the decline of this country, the financial hurt, people who live in rich Alberta who have to have 2 jobs or 3, who cannot afford food. So that brings everything in perspective. I believe that the Ukrainian war and that cause is primarily the European business We are only 38 million people in Canada. European Union is a way bigger economy, and I believe they have to clean up their act first. They have power over Russian assets, and they cannot unfreeze them because there is the internal politics of the European Union. If every country contributed as much as Poland does to NATO, Poland contributes 5% of the GDP. As much as I want Ukraine to get help, I believe Canada should limit their support because people in Canada hurt, and you have to clean up your affairs first before you play a generous uncle to other nations. And
I understand. All right.
I'm hurting that we have a very sluggish economy. There are countries in Europe that do way better. Even Poland, it's 3.5% of GDP. So Canada should be involved, and we should be vocal about what's going on. But, let's have a look at what's going on here.
Fair enough. Thank you. Agata, very interesting perspective there. You surprised me. Brendan up next. Brendan. Hello, Brendan.
Hello, Brendan. Hey, how are you today, Rob?
Yeah, very good, Brendan. Thank you. What's your opinion?
I absolutely think we should support the Ukrainians. When you look back at history, no one has a glass ball or crystal ball to predict the future, but if we don't help them today, what's to stop Russia or other aggressors from doing this in the future? Many of us, most of us, have never fought in a world war, and we can't even begin to think whether it's Ukrainians or other countries currently in conflict right now. And that war is not on our doorstep. So grateful and thankful for that, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. So yes, keep sending the money, keep supporting them. Are there a bunch of problems and issues? Sure, but there's problems and issues everywhere. You can't solve everything at once.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Brendan. And, this is another opinion that I hear in Ottawa foreign affairs circles. They say, don't forget, 2005, Vladimir Putin called the demise of the old Soviet Union the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the century. And there has been lots of analysis done about how Vladimir Putin wants to restore the Russian Empire. Not the Soviet Union. We're talking about the pre-1917 Russian Empire. This is why I say, some say, look at a map and you can figure out what that means. And what does it mean for Latvia, where we are there with our Canadian forces and all of those other countries. That has always been part of the framing on the need to keep supporting Ukraine. Not everyone shares it, however, today here on this show. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Time for a few more on ongoing support for Ukraine, which totals nearly $26 billion now in the last 4 years. Ukraine, the largest recipient of Canada's foreign aid at more than $3 billion a year, roughly. Total foreign aid budget, $13.4 billion. Zool in Calgary today. Hello, Zool.
Hi, Rob. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. What's your opinion?
Excellent. Love your show. Don't agree with you all the times, but that's what democracy is all about.
Thank you.
I'm a fiscally conservative person, own a small business. I just have a small little sentence regarding the topic today. When you are on an aircraft, the first message that you get when the air hostess or whatever the proper terminology is these days about that saying is that when there is an air pressure change, the mask comes off. You got to put the mask on yourself first before helping somebody else. Because if you're not well, you will not be able to help the person next to you.
Okay.
I believe in helping everybody, not two ways about that, as much as we can, but we definitely need to fix ourselves first.
So there are too many problems here. We should be putting that mask on us first before we turn and help our fellow passengers, you're saying?
Yes, sir. Because otherwise, you know what? If we don't do that, we will not be able to help anybody, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, Sewell. Thank you. Flight attendant, I believe, was the word you were looking for, their terminology. Flight attendant. Cabin crew. That's what they're called these days. Yep. Thank you, Sewell. And Tom in Calgary, I think, is going to be the last call of the day. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Tom here. How you doing, Rob?
Yeah. Hi, Tom. Yeah, very good, Tom. Thank you. What's your opinion?
I am a big fan of your show. My opinion is we shouldn't be sending them $25 billion when we have so many problems in Canada. Like the record number of homeless, all you do is take a look across Canada. Each province, each city, they have hundreds and thousands of homeless. And they're Canadians. They were born here. You know, why can't we help them? You know, hey, not to mention the corruption in Ukraine. You know, and there's a lot of it. You hear a story come out every week or so. Okay, well, where's all the money going? Meanwhile, Zelensky's got homes all over the world. He's got yachts. He's got jets. Like he's got everything. And
okay, I don't know about that.
I have a really important question. Why did Carney send Krista Freeland over there? Now, is he over there to money laundering?
Well, no, I don't think Chrystia Freeland wanted to be part of the government anymore. I don't think it's a case of Carney sending her there. She didn't want to be part of the government anymore.
Rob, I understand that part, but why did he send her to the Ukraine? That's the fishy part. That's what I don't understand is why she's there. And this is only my opinion.
Sure.
She's filling
she's
all
Ukrainian, right?
Accounts.
She's Ukrainian, right?
Yeah, okay. Well, that
speaks the language.
Rob, that's got nothing to do with the big picture. Why is she there? My opinion only. She's laundering money and filling all their offshore accounts. You know, which is I don't agree with that. There's so many.
Well, I don't agree with that either. If that's what's happening, but I don't have any evidence that is happening.
I don't have
and I understand, Tom. You have your concerns. You have your concerns as other people do, but come on, let's not cast those kinds of aspersions on based on nothing, really. We have to have, something if you're going to throw around an accusation like that. All right, thank you, everybody. That was a very, very busy start to the week for Talkback. We'll have a brand new topic for you tomorrow. And until then, always the latest breaking news on News Radio.